Welcome to Trailwise. I am Nina Barlow. Today we are talking about airing down our tires. And the very first thing we're going to cover is why we air down our tires, and then how much we need to air our tires down to. And then I'm going to air down my tires and show you my favorite tips, tricks, and tools for airing down my tires. Why do we air down our tires? There's three reasons. Number one, when you air down this tire, it's going to put more rubber in contact with the ground. That's going to give you better traction, which is going to be really important when you're in soft, loose terrain, rocky terrain where you're fighting for traction to get up a hill, things like that. The second reason is when you air down your tire, I've seen more tires lost to little tiny rocks like this at 25 miles an hour, like on an easy road like this, than in the gnarliest rock crawling trails, because when you put this fully inflated tire, and we're going to demonstrate this, when you put this fully inflated tire on top of a little sharp rock you're crawling along, this is much more likely to puncture the tread or the sidewall of your tire, you hit this at speed, than if your tire's aired down and now the rubber can kind of wrap around that rock. The third reason we air down our tires is comfort. And the comfort is going to be important for both you and your vehicle. If this tire is aired down, now you're allowing this rubber to squish up and down. It's almost like having another set of shock absorbers installed on your car. That's not only going to make it nicer for all the components of your vehicle so that it's not getting rattled to death, but you are also not getting rattled to death. So it's a comfort feature. If your spine feels better, the spine of your car feels better too. So there is no one answer for what we air our tires down to. The important thing is the size of your wheel relative to the size of your tire. So how much sidewall you have to work with. On little bitty skinny sidewall tires, low profile tires, we're not going to be able to air down very much. And honestly, we're probably not going to be doing any serious off-roading with tires and wheels set up like that anyways. But you can see with a 17-inch wheel on a 35-inch tire, we've got a lot of sidewall. We can get some good flex out of this sidewall. But what do we air down to? It's going to be different based on the wheel and the tire size, the weight of your vehicle, and of course maybe the terrain that you're on that day. The first thing you can do is start with, what is the construction of my tire? This is a load range E tire, and you have some great information right in here that tells you max load, how much weight at how much PSI. This one says 3,195 pounds at 65 PSI. That does not mean that full PSI, the full tire pressure that you're going to run this tire, is 65 PSI on this vehicle. That only means you're going to run that tire pressure if you're at the max load of 3,195 pounds per tire. This is not a 12,800 pound truck, so we're not going to be running that kind of PSI. So that's a mistake we see a lot of people make right off the bat. So this is with the tire fully inflated, and you can see it just perched right up on top of that rock. Now we're going to let the air out and show you what that looks like. There is a whole big math formula, and I will include the link in the comments below if you really want to geek out on figuring out exactly what is going to be a good starting point for your airing down for your tires on your vehicle. You've got to get your vehicle weighed, you've got to read this sidewall information, but again, I'm not going to cover that in the video. The link to that article will be in the comments. There's a couple of other ways that us lazier people can use to air down our tires. And one is cheating by looking at the placard of the vehicle. Every car comes with a placard right here in the door frame that's going to tell you what the tire pressure should be. Now keep in mind that this is for the factory tires and wheels that came on your four-wheel drive. Not likely to be what some of us are wearing these days, but it is still a great starting point because this is based on the curb weight of the vehicle. So this one says 37 PSI is what we call placard on the Jeep. Half of that is 18.5 PSI. That's a good conservative starting point for big heavy duty tires. Now, if you're running a P-rated tire, or something that's just 2-ply sidewall, you're probably going to want to use about 2/3 of that number instead of half. But we'll start with half and see what happens. So another way that we can cheat and be lazy but still works, it's kind of old school, is we're just going to look for a nice little bulge in the sidewall right here when we air down the tire. So if you don't have TPMS, you don't have a tire gauge, it doesn't mean you can't air down. You just want to see what your tires look like all the time. You should be keeping an eye on those anyways. And when your tire is sitting, really aired up, you can see this one's sitting really tall. When it's aired down, we're going to see a little bit better contact on the ground with this portion. But if this tire is so soft that these side lugs are starting to disappear under the bulge of the tire, that's probably too low. So those are just some key things that you can look for regardless of what equipment you're using to check your tire pressure. Now let's air down our tires. Let me show you my favorite tools for airing down tires. I keep it very simple. The first thing is I have the TerraFlex tire deflators. These just unscrew. You put one on each tire and it holds the valve open and lets the air out until you're done. You don't have to stand there and hold it. My favorite tire gauge is the AccuTire, just a digital tire gauge. This is about $15 or $20 on Amazon. The TerraFlex is about $25. I will put links for both of these items in the comments. Another pro tip, if you have a Wrangler, is the TPMS. If the Jeep is running, you can start the Jeep and the TPMS will automatically drop and you don't even have to check the tire gauge necessarily. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start her up. She's a diesel. She may be a little loud. And by the way, TPMS stands for Tire Pressure Monitoring System. TPMS, obviously much easier to say. All right, so just like I showed you, we're just going to unscrew one of these off of here. We're going to take our valve cap. The trick is where you keep your valve caps while you're airing up and down. It is important to keep track of your valve caps. You know why? Because if a little tiny grain of sand gets in that little tiny pin in there is what's holding all of the air in your tires. All it takes is a tiny grain of sand to get in there to hold that valve open, and now you don't have any air in your tires. So make sure you keep a track of these valve caps. Now, my favorite trick is to put them right up here. See the nice thick lugs in these Falcon mud terrains. I drop it right in there, and now, after I'm done airing down my tires, I can drive away and I can squish all 4 valve caps at the same time. Don't forget your little valve caps there. So I put them up here or put them in your pocket. The important thing is that you put them in a safe place. I'm going to screw this guy on. You're going to hear all the air start leaking out. That's good. Not all the air. As much air as we want. We're just going to screw this guy on here. That hissing sound means that fun is about to ensue. All right, and now we just do the other 3. Now I will say I'm doing all 4 at the same time because these are nice big tires. If you have small stock tires or you're not really comfortable with this process, definitely start with 1 tire at a time, maybe 2 at a time. That's the beauty, is you can do 1 or 4, whatever. The TerraFlex tire deflators allow you to do that. Okay, so like I said, you could just get in the Jeep and sit here and watch your dashboard and watch those tires going down and see once they drop below about 30, they turn red and the Jeep dings at you. So we're at 27 on the driver's side, 25 on that right rear. That right front's moving a little slower. So we're gonna go down to about 18.5 today because that's what we talked about placard. These are really heavy duty tires though, so more likely I would be wanting to put these tires probably at about 13 or 14 PSI on this diesel Wrangler. It's always easier to let more air out than to put it back in, so we'll start really conservative and see how it looks. Okay, we got them at about 18, 19, I got 1 more to go. Look at 21, we're at 18, 18, 19. And that right front's just a little slower than the other ones. That's typical. There's always that one. What's nice about these TerraFlex tire deflators too is that you can still check the tire pressure with that valve on there. So We got to turn that on. And we're at 18 PSI. Woohoo! And now I'm going to put that cap back on. Yay! So we talked about airing these down to half clacker. This tire's at 18 PSI. You can see it's just a little bit more on the ground. It's noticeably a little softer. And then I'm looking for just a little bit of a visual bulge when I look down the tire right here. I want to see just a little bit of a bulge here, just starting to bulge. I want to see maybe just a little bit more bulge out of these tires for my personal preference. And obviously this sidewall is not folded over. We're not hiding these side lugs yet. So we could go more on this tire if we wanted to. But let's start with this rock and show you what that looks like. So now you can see under the tread here, the tread is just starting to wrap around that rock a little bit more. And from the driver's seat, I notice instead of kind of bumping up against the rock, the tire really just oozed up and over this rock. This is a little tiny rock, but it's enough to stop a tire that's fully inflated. Okay, 13 PSI. That's looking really good to me, the way this tire is wrapping around this rock. So that's what we're going to try today. So now I like the way that looks. My side blocks aren't quite touching the ground. They haven't disappeared entirely. Nice bulge sticking out on the tire there. So remember that airing down has consequences. Everything is a trade-off. So airing down your tires mean they're a little lower. You have a little bit less clearance on your vehicle. More traction is also more friction, which is more resistance in your steering components. And so big aired down tires are going to wear steering components over time more. And if you get back on the highway with those aired down tires, more traction is more friction is more heat. Heat is bad for your tires. That's why we air up. And also because we don't want big squishy tires on pavement just for safety and handling purposes. So make sure you're airing up your tires at the end of the day as well. Hey, if you have any questions at all about airing down or airing back up, comment below. Thanks for watching Trailwise. Please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see more. You can follow us on Instagram at Barlow_adventures, on Twitter at Trailwise Media, and you can find out all about our trips and training on our website, barlows.us. Until next time, be safe out there. Be trailwise on our public lands, and happy trails.